What you're doing here is making this issue less about white supremacy and the American Christian experience by broadening it into a generic power problem. And while oppression certainly has existed across human history, that is not the conversation I'm having in this space. I cannot speak with authority on every empire, every culture, or every global manifestation of oppression. But I can speak knowledgeably and honestly about colonialism and white supremacy and the roots of American Christianity, because that is the water many of us were swimming in, and we never were taught to name it. We were never taught that it was toxic. This is exactly where so many white Christians, especially white Christian women, get stuck, because the moment the conversation gets too close to our own implication, our complicitness, we often widen the lens just enough to avoid accountability. We say, well, all people groups have oppressed others, or we say this is really just about power, or we might say, why make it about race when that only creates division? But what that often does is protect our comfort instead of confronting the truth. This is about understanding that there can never be real unity without this truth. And I'm going to give you a real-time example of what I mean. I am in the mountains and I am looking out over this breathtaking landscape. And for a moment, I caught myself romanticizing the early explorers of this land. Do you see what I did there? Even now, even after all this work, that indoctrination can still come roaring back. My mind instinctively reached for the hero myth of the colonizer, and I romanticized it. I was never taught to first think about the indigenous people who were already here, already belonging to the land that white history taught us was discovered. That is how deep this conditioning goes. It is not just about hatred. It is about whose story we were trained to center without even realizing it. And until white people who have been indoctrinated into white Christian patriarchy understand how deeply that indoctrination has shaped us and the way we see the world, the way we define goodness, and the way we determine who feels safe and respectable, even the way we center ourselves, even when we think we're being progressive, we simply cannot become safe or trustworthy advocates. And I want to make something else clear, because I saw this a lot in the comments where people were getting it. You don't have to be Christian to be indoctrinated into white Christian patriarchy. That is why this work is so important and it is so deep, because many of us were taught that if we vote blue, or we read the right books, or we say the right things, then we somehow get a pass and don't have to do any of the work to extract ourselves from that white Christian patriarchal indoctrination. But that is not decolonizing. We will still center the voice of the white man. We will still find men more approachable and more reasonable and more electable and safe. And yes, that is exactly why people said things like James Tallarico had a softer tone, as if it were some neutral observation and not a racialized, gendered value judgment rooted in white comfort. And for the record, I do not believe he was the better choice over Jasmine Crockett. And I've made a whole series of videos explaining why. So when you say this is not a white people problem, what I hear is an attempt to move the conversation away from the very specific system that formed many of us. And Katie, that is part of the problem. Because what you're centering here, it's not justice. You are centering your comfort over the decolonizing that we all need to do. And I understand it because I know that space well. It is hard. It's humbling. It asks us to grieve who we thought we were. But if you can stay there and you can resist the urge to explain it away or soften it or rationalize it or universalize it like you did here, then you may begin to understand that there is nothing about our lives that has not been shaped by the privilege of the color of our skin. Nothing. Not the churches we trusted, not the theology we were taught, not the government, familial, legal institutions, not the leaders we instinctively believed, not the white Christian man that we just thought always would do the right thing for everyone, not even the way we imagine what goodness looks like. Until we are willing to tell the truth about that, we will keep confusing politeness for justice and comfort for unity. But I hope we are willing to do that work, because finally we can become part of a vision that does not center us. Now, please support my work by following me on all my platforms where you can subscribe and be notified when my latest teachings become available.